At 3:26 a.m., September 1st, 1983, a single missile tore through the night sky. That missile, launched by a Soviet Sukhoi Su-15 interceptor, wasn't aimed at a military spy plane. It struck Korean Airlines Flight 007, a Boeing 747 carrying 269 souls, including a U.S. congressman. The incident ignited a firestorm, pushing the Cold War to a terrifying brink. The events leading up to this tragedy were a complex tapestry of navigational error, heightened geopolitical tension, and a deeply entrenched Soviet paranoia regarding Western surveillance. The world watched, horrified, as the details slowly emerged, each revelation deepening the mystery. Korean Airlines Flight 007, often referred to as KAL 007, departed Anchorage, Alaska, on August 31, 1983, bound for Seoul. On board was U.S. Representative Larry McDonald, a staunch anti-communist, adding another layer of intrigue to the unfolding disaster. The crucial error occurred shortly after takeoff. Instead of following its assigned route, R-20, which skirted Soviet airspace, KAL 007 veered drastically off course. It began a slow, insidious drift north, directly towards some of the most sensitive Soviet military zones. This wasn't just any airspace. It was Sakhalin Island and the Kamchatka Peninsula, home to critical Soviet strategic missile sites and naval bases. To the Soviets, this was the ultimate red line, a direct challenge to their national security during an already volatile period. At the time, U.S. intelligence frequently conducted surveillance flights near Soviet borders, sometimes using RC-135 reconnaissance aircraft. The Soviets were acutely aware of these operations, contributing to their hair-trigger alert status. As KAL 007 penetrated Soviet airspace, it was picked up by Soviet radar. The ground controllers, accustomed to the probing of U.S. spy planes, immediately assumed the civilian aircraft was an RC-135 on a clandestine mission. They issued no warnings. They acted. Multiple Soviet interceptors were scrambled. Pilots were ordered to identify the intruder. Yet, in the confusion of the night, and perhaps due to the Boeing 747's similar radar signature to the RC-135, positive identification proved elusive. The pilot of the lead Su-15, Major Gennady Osipovich, reported difficulty seeing the target clearly. Osipovich fired warning shots, but they were tracer rounds, likely invisible to the civilian pilots of KAL 007 in the darkness. There was no communication, no attempt to contact the aircraft via international distress frequencies. The decision to engage was made quickly, under immense pressure. At 3:26 a.m. local time, Major Osipovich launched two air-to-air missiles. The first missed. The second struck KAL 007 tail section, causing rapid decompression and a catastrophic failure of the aircraft systems. The jumbo jet began its terrifying descent into the Sea of Japan. The final moments of KAL 007 were captured on its flight data recorder, which would later be recovered. The sounds of alarm, the crew's desperate attempts to control the crippled aircraft, and then silence. A chilling testament to the abrupt end of 269 lives. The international outcry was immediate and fierce. U.S. President Ronald Reagan condemned the act as a crime against humanity, calling it a massacre. The incident became a defining moment of Cold War tension, amplifying anti-Soviet sentiment globally. The Soviets initially denied responsibility. Then they claimed the aircraft was a U.S. spy plane deliberately provoking them. Their narrative shifted, but the fundamental admission of shooting down a civilian airliner remained a black mark on their international standing. The discovery of the flight recorders years later by Russian authorities after the collapse of the Soviet Union offered crucial insights. It confirmed the navigational error, but also revealed the Soviet military's confusion and their lack of proper identification procedures. The incident also exposed critical flaws in global air traffic control and military identification protocols. The lack of standardized communication channels between military and civilian aircraft in border regions was a glaring vulnerability. Some theories persist, even today, that KAL-007 was indeed involved in a U.S. intelligence operation, perhaps as a decoy. While largely debunked by official investigations, these theories highlight the deep mistrust and suspicion that defined the Cold War era. The tragedy ultimately led to significant changes in international aviation. The U.S. military, for example, made its GPS system, previously restricted, available for civilian use, drastically improving navigational accuracy for all aircraft worldwide. It also prompted reforms in international air traffic control and communication protocols, emphasizing the need for clear identification and communication with any aircraft nearing sensitive airspace, regardless of its perceived threat. The memory of KAL-007 serves as a stark reminder of how quickly civilian life can intersect with geopolitical conflict. A simple navigational error, compounded by Cold War paranoia, cost hundreds of innocent lives and brought the world perilously close to a wider conflict. The incident remains a powerful testament to the dangers of miscalculation and the tragic consequences when military protocols override civilian safety, especially in times of heightened international tension. KAL-007 wasn't just an aviation disaster, it was a Cold War casualty, a chilling illustration of the human cost when two superpowers stood poised on the brink, each mistrusting the other's every move. A civilian airliner transformed into a symbol of a global struggle. The lessons of that night, though paid for in blood, continue to resonate, urging caution and clarity in an increasingly complex and interconnected world. The echoes of KAL-007 remind us that the line between peace and conflict can be horrifyingly thin. Explore the secret history of U.S. spy planes in our next deep dive.